Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 3rd of July. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Preliminary drowning figures show 35 people drowned during the first 6 months of this year, which is New Zealand's lowest mid-year drowning toll since records began in 1980. The figure, which doesn't yet include any deaths deemed drowning related by the coroner, is also 35% down on the 5-year mid-year average of 43 deaths. Matt Claridge, CEO of Water Safety New Zealand, says the comparatively low number of drownings is a positive sign that water safety efforts are beginning to make a difference. However, he also says there's no room for complacency, as one drowning is one too many. And if we're to continue to reduce the drowning toll, all New Zealanders need to make water safety a priority. Cambridge Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Raewyn Jones will step down from the role in August in order to take up the job of Trust Manager for Well Energy Trust. She's been with the Chamber for just under 4 years and in that time has overseen the introduction of the SA5 seminar program, the Chamber's First 15 Young Networking Group and the development of the Retailers Group. In sport, it's been 12 years since the Black Caps won a series overseas, and after gambling on an overnight declaration, New Zealand's Black Caps have done just that. Captain Brendan McCullum declared, leaving the West Indies with a target of 308 off 98 overs and clinched the series win with a 53-run victory in the third and deciding test against the West Indies. With the onset of cold weather, Tokeroa's poor air quality is back under the spotlight. And despite continued funding of air quality schemes from both the South Waikato District Council and the Waikato Regional Council, the air quality in Tokeroa is not improving. It's getting worse. Already this winter, air quality in Tokeroa has exceeded PM10 levels 9 times compared to last year's total of 10 over the entire winter. And the biggest contributing factor to this problem is the burning of wet wood. The council will be holding an Air Quality Week from July 21st to the 26th. Taking a look at the marine forecast now. Raglan, you can expect a southerly of 30 knots. A gale warning is in force. Should ease Friday to a southwest of 20 knots. High tide for Raglan 10 minutes past 2 tomorrow morning. Heading to the Bay of Plenty, there's a gale warning in force for U2 with a northeast of 15 knots, changing early to Friday to a southwest of 30 knots, should ease Friday afternoon to 20 knots, high tide 11:54 a.m. Take it easy if you're thinking about going out on the water. Still to come on Central News, we find out about the world premiere of the musical State Highway 48 in Hamilton. Tauranga's annual plan is released and we discover the delights of the Gordonton Country Market. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. Hamilton writer and musician Chris Williams has spent the past 5 years working on his first musical. And next week he'll see it laid bare on stage in front of friends, family and strangers as it premieres in Hamilton at the Clarence Street Theatre. I spoke with Chris to find out what the musical State Highway 48 is all about.
Right, it's a musical that is based on the journey of middle age, is the kind of way I would describe it. And it is a story told through the eyes of a family, the young kids, workmates, friends, colleagues, etc. And some of the trials and tribulations they have at a period of time in their lives. There's a lot of themes that come through. It's set against the backdrop of the recession, so there's some job loss, depression, communication problems, marriage breakdown, all these kind of things. There's a lot of humour, a lot of laughs, very few tears, to be fair. And it's a kind of like, I would put it, it's a reminder, a few reminders to us about the importance of communication, the family unit, love in your life, and also I think it's about trying to remind us that the people that we think might be the most on top of things are often the ones that are struggling the most, and that's a real kind of common theme that comes through it. So it's told through 22 songs, the whole thing is sung, and it's pretty epic.
How did the musical come about?
Yeah, as I was saying, I never set out to write a musical. It was never a thing I thought I was going to do. But as a creative person who, I write songs, I've always got songs on the go at various stages. One night I was just kind of wheedling away on the piano, and I developed a riff that I kind of quite liked. I thought it was kind of more of a TV show or something. And then I thought, no, it feels like more of a theme for a musical. So there and then I decided I'd write a musical. And then I told everyone I was writing it. And then everyone started to ask me how I was going. So I thought, well, I better get on with it. And so now here we are.
Where did you find your inspiration for the characters and the storyline?
Right. Well, I think when you get to my age, because this being a commentary on life at middle age, I'm kind of, in the thick of it, I suppose. So you come across lots of people and you have a lot of experiences yourself that you're able to portray and express in a certain way. So there's no one single inspiration, just a lot of the people and work, friends and so on that I've run across over the years.
Who's helped you along the way?
There's been so many people. There are, friends, workmates, and so on, who have kind of encouraged me and basically unwittingly, shared with me their stories and so on, and enabled me to observe a lot of what they're up to. So that's kind of been a real help. But one of the big things that happened was that a very good friend of mine up in Auckland, who in fact died last October, and he and I, traded notes on what we're up to. He was going to write a book, and I was doing my musical. And I always going to say to him, you need to write your book. You need to write your book. He was saying forever that he was going to do it, but anyway, he ended up not doing it because he died. And so he was a big part of kind of this getting to this stage.
Tell me about the cast. You've got some very accomplished performers.
Right, so we've got Brian Beveridge, who's an absolute star, Kirsten Hickman, who's just a beautiful singer. She can sing like an angel. They're the two lead characters. And then with the remaining cast are all really experienced professionals as well. So that's just been fantastic for them to come along and kind of take part in it. They're all really passionate about it. And that's been one of the great things for me, is for these guys to come along and say, well, we're going to check this out, do an audition. And now they're all sort of saying, we're loving this and we're really grateful to be part of it. So it's fairly humbling, to be honest.
It's been said that everyone has a story inside them waiting to be written down. Is this your story?
Yes and no. I mean, there are things in there that I haven't been through, but things in there that I have. And I think you get to this age and you just can't avoid some of those things, if you know what I mean. So it partly is, but partly it's also just, observation of, people and places and so on.
Who will relate to the musical?
Well, I think it's a definite kind of baby boomer audience, but really, I suppose baby boomers are getting a bit older now, so kind of 40 plus, 35, 40 plus. But really, my audience is everyone. It doesn't exclude anyone. I think everyone should enjoy it, but certainly people, who've gone over the 40 hill will definitely relate to, a good part of it, I would think.
You're at the Clarence Street Theatre in Hamilton from the 10th to the 12th of July, and then plans to go nationwide.
Yes, so we're doing those, there's 4 performances over those 3 days, and really this is a launch, I suppose, and it is also kind of a pilot. I'll be getting feedback from some people, just to make sure that, the story's being told well and all those kind of things, and then I'll iron out any creases from there, and then I aim to kind of take it to Auckland and Wellington and then overseas is my aim. We're not stopping here.
What's been a highlight so far?
There've been a number, to be honest. Writing, when I wrote it, writing in curtain closes was a highlight. I nearly cried because it was blood, sweat and tears on every word. The auditions were fantastic. That was so exciting, seeing people coming in and singing my songs. And then the other night, Brian and Kirsten sang one of the duets that we've got in the show, and that was when I just started to think, this feels really real now. And hearing those 2 professionals sing it was just incredible. So that's so far. There's been many others as well.
For more details and information on tickets, go to sh48.co.nz. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The annual plan is out for Tauranga City Council, so Wayne caught up with Mayor Stuart Crosby to find out about what some of the big changes have been.
Now, the draft annual plan has been through its submission process. What was decided on the subject of rates?
The rating requirement for next year is 6.7%, of which 2% is to run the city, and a special levy of 4.7%, just especially for stormwater, so that's been separated out.
And how will this affect the debt to revenue ratio, Stuart?
We've actually lowered it. We've lowered it to 221%. It was starting around the start of the process around 230. So this new council is quite focused on reducing that ratio and ultimately also reducing the debt level as well.
Now, the draft stated that there may be some cuts to services. So, in effect, what will the detail of those be? And I guess also, will it result in job losses, for example?
No, as a result of public submissions, we actually reinstated most of those levels of service, and they were to do generally around swimming pool opening hours and some other asset management. So the community told us very loud and very clear, don't do that. And so we've reinstated them and found the savings elsewhere within our budget.
Property sales has been mentioned in the draft annual plan, so the selling off of those, of course. What ones will be particularly affected, I guess, and what do you expect to make money-wise from that?
Well, yes, overall we have $1 billion worth of property. Obviously a lot of it's strategic and you need it for roads and things, but we also had a lot of property we inherited or had purchased where we only needed a small portion of it that was non-strategic. So over the next 5 years we have a program to sell that. It's not a fire sale. We're into year 2 now and we've raised approximately $10 million, and that goes straight back to reducing debt of that particular activity.
And the grass growing slightly longer will save the council some money, perhaps?
That was one of the changes of level of service, but we've actually reinstated that. It's not something I supported, but it was in a whole suite of things that we could do to reduce our costs, but it was really a false economy, so that's actually not going to happen now.
Now, Stuart, the Greerton Library and also the mobile library are a bit of a hot topic at the moment for you as council. So what's the outcome there?
Yes, well, after 20 years nearly of talking about the replacement for the Greerton Library, it's going to happen. So we have resolved to replace the Greerton Library, basically double its floor space to just under about 900 square metres, which is tremendous. And also the mobile library has been reinstated and it will more than likely run out its useful life.
And what's happening with the Southern Pipeline?
Southern Pipeline is a big project over many years, $106 million. It's basically an environmental program to start with. We were getting a lot of sewerage into our harbours because of our pump stations overflowing because they couldn't cope. So the Southern Pipeline is about capacity. The challenge with it is so big. How do we fund it in the early 20 years? That's always been our problem. So there's a bit of risk to it, a bit of financial risk, but it has to happen because we can't have wastewater going into our beautiful harbour.
And can the city really afford to put this project off? And is the wastewater system currently working efficiently enough?
Well, as we build it section by section, we're actually creating capacity in the pipeline itself. That's how big it is. So the next major phase, I should say, is to get it across the harbour. It's also the most risky one. Once we get it across the harbour, then through the Matapiti Peninsula to Tamanga, where our big wastewater treatment station is, it will be complete. So we've actually slowed it down, its progress anyway, and that's really to help our cash flow, wait for more development contributions to come in to help pay for it as well. So about just under 70% of it is funded by new growth, and the other 30% is funded by existing ratepayers.
There was the potential to look at some increase in admission to some council activities. So what's the outcome there?
Yes, what we have agreed to is really about inflation adjustments. No major changes, but what we have found, it's important to make small step changes rather than waiting 5 or 10 years and making a big one. The small step changes give the users certainty. So we've worked with our council-controlled organisation that runs those facilities, and both in the indoor area and in the aquatic area, there'll be just some small adjustments to the pricing.
Now, the subject of events was a fairly hot topic in the election campaigns, of course. So where does that fit into the draft annual plan at this stage?
Yes, we actually hadn't changed our event investment for over a decade, so we have basically doubled our contribution to over 400,000, and as well as the private sector have come on board with another 200,000. So effectively it's gone from 200,000 to 600,000 in one jump. But more importantly, we're also providing knowledge and services within council to support our events economy, because it's very strong here in Tauranga, and it's very good for the city to get events here. So we already have quite a range of events, but we're looking to grow some of our existing ones and bring in some new ones as well with this new partnership between the public and private sector.
Stuart, the university campus in the CBD has been needing to be addressed, I guess it's one way of putting it, for quite a number of years now. So where does the council sit on that at the moment?
Yes, it did. We were one of the stakeholders there because we're providing the site. So previously we'd resolved to provide a site for peppercorn rental for 30 years and then start charging a commercial rental. We've now basically decided to donate the site to the project, which came with some revenue loss, of course. The other element is the Bay of Plenty Regional Council are putting in $15 million, and we're just waiting to hear if our Tauranga Energy Consumers Trust will also grant $15 million. Once that's confirmed, then the project will happen.
Now, the council initially proposed to increase development contributions. Now, will that still go ahead? And if it does, how much will be gained monetary-wise?
No, we actually haven't increased them at all over of any significance, I should say, over the last 2 years, because they're a major contributor to housing affordability. So we work with our developers on an ongoing basis on those levels of contribution, and they're actually set project by project. There's a lot of science goes in behind them. Our biggest concern was that the government were changing the rules with regard to development contributions, which could have cost our council about $17 million. So fortunately they've backtracked on that, and it's back to the status quo. The new element is that there will be an objection process, which we agree with.
You can find out more about the annual plan on the council's website, tauranga.gov.nz. And up next, we find out about the popularity of the Gordonton Country Markets. Plus, take a look at tomorrow's weather. That's still to come on Central News. Welcome back to Central News. The Gordonton Country Markets have been running for 2 years and are gaining a reputation as being the ideal place for newcomers to the market selling platform. I spoke with co-organiser Karen Stroud to find out why the Gordonton Country Markets are proving to be so popular.
I think it's because Gordonton has such a heart for people, and it really is just an amazing tight community. So people are out and about, and they really like coming and buying local and meeting people. It's actually a really good, meeting place for people. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is, I think locally there's so much talent, like people making things. There's real cottage industry, and it's obviously out in the country, so people actually do really well at growing things. So I think that's probably one of the main things.
You're introducing how-to workshops. Tell me about these.
It's just something that we're just starting to now. We're starting to think of them and pulling them together. And it's really just at the infinite stage. And it's really just about getting together some of the stall holders who are quite established and do really quite well. And I mean, some of these people have been doing it years and years and years, and learning from people who are successful at what they do and bringing them together in a kind of community way and getting them to interact and share with people who are just starting. So it's kind of looking at those. I mean, some of the things are very basic about what they do, about recognising what people like, what people look at, what they touch is something, to look at and to concentrate on. And if people aren't looking at your product, learn to morph. Greeting people, being smiley, saying hi. If you're selling something, maybe food, having samples. We've got a girl who makes marmalade. She has all the testers, and once people test her food, it just goes.
Now you've got another option for first-timers, an umbrella stall. What are these all about?
It's kind of something that we kind of got together as the team. There's 4 of us on the team who kind of organise and see through the Gordonton Country Market. And it was kind of like we saw from a lot of feedback, people wanting to start, and they were real newbies. They'd never done markets before. And they said, I want to do this. I'm good at painting, or I do this form of art, or I make this. Really talented, but they said, I've never kind of sold something like that. What do I do? And so rather than getting them doing a complete stand, which might be 3 metres of their product, product or produce, we said what we'll do is we'll start off with small umbrella stands, which they could do just on a card table or just basically with an umbrella in which way they want to present it. And it gives them an opportunity to start in a very small way and see how they're welcomed by the public.
There's a belief that things are cheaper at markets. Do you think that's the case?
I think what it is I think it is definitely cheaper in the fact that it's quality. And you're actually paying for what you get. I mean, when you look at people's jams, for example, it's actually real fruit. So you're actually paying for food rather than fillers and colours and water and sugar. You know, you're actually paying for fruit, which they're making at home. So it's really a case of you're really at the first place. There's no middleman. These people are, what they make is what they're handing over. So they're knitting the products, they're making it, all the beautiful beauty products that they do, they're doing the ingredients themselves, and so they know their cost, and they're giving them to them with their own markup, not a middleman. So, I mean, in that way, it is cost effective.
The Gordonton Country Markets are held in the grounds of the Old Gordonton School on the second Saturday of every month from 8:30 till 1 p.m. For more details, check out the Facebook page Gordonton Country Market. Time to take a look at the weather for the Waikato now. Ooh, it's getting colder. Hamilton showers turning to rain with cold sou'westers and a high of just 12 degrees, 5 overnight. Pāroa, same for you with a 13 your high and 6 the low. Matamata scraping through till 11 and low of 7. Te Awamutu 12 your high with 5 the low. And Tokoroa, you don't quite get to double figures, I'm afraid. 9 your high with 4 your low overnight. Heading over the Kaimai Ranges now and taking a look at the Bay of Plenty. Tauranga expect a beautiful, fine day. Bit of rain around in the evening though, and not that warm, just 13 your high with a low of 6 overnight. Te Puke expect a high of 11 with a low of 6. That's Central News for today. Make sure you like us on our Facebook page. Just look for centralnews.tv. Let us know if there's news or an event in your community. Thanks for joining me. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Hillary's back tomorrow night. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.